Parker Fox joins the show, and it's going to be one you do not want to miss. Be sure to hit subscribe, and let's get it going.
Hey,
You are Locked On Golden Gophers.
No matter what we're going to do here, we're just going to keep rowing.
Your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
However it turns out, we're just going to keep rowing.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're just going to keep rowing, and keep rowing.
You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Today, we have a special guest that you're absolutely not going to want to miss. But first, hit subscribe down below on YouTube to be sure you don't miss any of the videos moving forward, and find us wherever you get your podcasts at LO Golden Gophers, aka Locked On Golden Gophers. Find us wherever you get your podcast. Now, today, our guest also has a podcast, and I want to be sure to shout that out before we dive in. It is the Double Down podcast. I will have a link in the show notes below. Be sure to give it a look and go check out those shows as well. But wait no further. We're jumping in today with Gophers basketball player Parker Fox. You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we got a special guest for you. People have been calling for it on Twitter for months now, and we made it happen. So I'm excited. Former Northern State Hooper and now current Golden Gopher, Parker Fox, is joining us. Thank you for taking the time, Parker.
Appreciate you having me on. One podcaster to another. It's exciting to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we're going to jump right in. And so you played at Northern State. You are on a championship tier program in the NSIC, which I'm familiar with because I actually coached over at Minot State on the football side of things for a little bit. But what drew you to Minnesota when you entered the portal? I know that other coaches were all after you. And so what drew you to staying home?
Yeah, no, it was a pretty overwhelming experience. I knew I was a pretty good player. I knew I was gonna, attract a decent amount of attention, but I didn't think it was gonna be what it was. I basically heard from everywhere in the country, and I was very fortunate to have that opportunity. But I think at the end of the day, I knew where I wanted to go, and I knew I wanted to go home. And it was really when Ben Johnson told me, he said, imagine going somewhere else and then thinking what it would be like not being at home. And then that clicked. I was like, yeah, that's it right there. So I called him up and told him I wanted to be a Gopher, and definitely one of the happiest days of my life for sure.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. With that, just off the cuff, what was the hardest school to turn down when you did decide to go to Minnesota? Which one do you look at and you're like, man, I can't believe this offer came in, but then, home is home.
Yeah, I had a great relationship with Coach McDermott at Creighton.
Okay.
I also had a great relationship with Coach Adams at Texas Tech, and then as well as TCU. So I think those were kind of some of the ones. But Coach McDermott and me had a pretty good connection, and so that was a tough one to turn down, just because good conference, good school, good basketball program, and as a big college basketball fan. It was hard to turn some of those coaches down, but I think at the end of the day, like I said, I knew where I belonged. I knew where I needed to be for the next step in my life.
Absolutely. And we're happy you're here. I can speak for everybody in Gophers Nation when it comes to that. So we're glad you made the choice you did. Now, you were on the squad last year and you saw the vast change of the roster firsthand. You were on the team. And so I want to talk about the new faces on the team and tell me what stood out to you about guys like Talon Cooper or Dawson Garcia or Torres Samuels when they first got here to now.
Yeah, it was like the year previous, we had such a great locker room. I think the guys that are in our program and people that were, connected to our program knew how special our locker room was. So I think that was a key piece for this next squad that Ben Johnson wanted to bring in, guys that are just solid locker room guys that you like being around. I think people don't know how much time we spend around each other. But basically it's all day, every day. So if you don't like somebody in there, it gets a little tough, but it's easy for us because we really have a unique relationship with everybody. Guy like guy like Dawson Garcia, I can't talk, highly enough about Dawson Garcia. He's a tremendous talent, obviously has, so many awards and accolades behind his name. He could have easily came into our locker room with arrogance and with pride and been made it about himself, but that's the opposite of what he did. He came in and he's a phenomenal teammate. He's a phenomenal dude outside of the court. And I can, go down the list, Talon Cooper,
Right.
same deal. He's a guy who was top of the assist in the country. You could come in and be like, hey, I'm coming here for a year and going to be done. But, it's the opposite of that. He's come in and he's built relationships with all of us. And, I think from the top down, guys like Torres too, like from the top down, it's the kind of people they are is more important. And I think it's special because we have such a unique thing, and I think we're building it the right way. And I think that's what's important.
Right. Awesome. Love to hear it. And I know Minnesota fans are stoked to see you out there on the floor in the future too, and truly can't wait. But for you, how has your approach changed when it comes to leadership? Not only not being able to play, but still coach up your teammates, coach up so many freshmen that are on the floor for the first time and haven't experienced this level of play.
Yeah, I think I've always been a natural leader, just by the nature of my upbringing, playing, football, basketball, soccer, doing track. Like I was, always in, team sports, track's individual, but for the most part, team sports. And I learned how to, work within a team. And, my parents taught me from a young age that leadership is a, super important quality to have, not only as an athlete, but, as a human being. So, but it's definitely changed. It makes it a lot different when you're not out on there on the court. I think oftentimes when we're out on there on the court, you can kind of lead by example. You can show your effort, you can show your enthusiasm, you can show your energy, and that kind of can be contagious to your teammates and guys that are on the floor with you. But now being off the court, it makes it a little bit more tough to have it be kind of an infectious energy. It more has to kind of be a teaching deal. And that's a credit to our guys too. I think, they could come in and they could, come in with, all the arrogance in the world, but instead they come in and every single day and they want to be taught and they want to be coached. And they look to me as a guy who's obviously been through it, been playing college basketball for 5.5 years now. I kind of know some of the ins and outs and they run to me. A guy like Pharrell Payne, he's always coming to me and asking me about different things and trying to get a little, coaching advice. And actually when I tore the second one, I remember Ben, coming to me and telling me, he was like, I want you to just stay connected, stay a part of this, watch extra film with us as coaches, be kind of a, extended version of an assistant coach to our roster. And that's what I've tried to do. It doesn't need to be seen in front of everybody, but, little things in the locker room, when there's a little adjustment that I see that we can make to better our success, bringing those little things up. And I think, it's a credit to the guys because they're great listeners and they want to get better. So that's an important aspect of it as well.
No, and I love that. I love that insight because people don't think about everything that goes with it. Like a lot of people haven't played college sports and don't understand, like you said, how you guys are together at all times. Like
All the time.
there's no breaks really. So even the experience and the leadership that you're able to bring at any given point goes a long way. So that will be a great insight for the listeners. Now, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, us podcasters, which means if you don't know, fans, Parker has a podcast as well. I've got a few of the shows. I love the perspective he brings. The podcast is called the Double Down Podcast. But let the listeners know what sparked your interest in the podcast and what they can find there when they tune in.
Yeah, so I'd love everybody to go listen to the Double Down podcast. It's something I started. I'm 14 episodes in. Basically, every single episode, I'm targeting some sort of athlete, whether it's a former athlete or a current college or professional. Basically, an athlete that has kind of gone through some sort of hardship. Whether it's an injury or whether it's some family issue or some sort of adversity that led you to having to take some time away from the game. And it obviously started from my own injuries. I've never kind of been a person that really wanted to talk about the mental side of sports. I always knew it was important to be a mentally tough player, but I didn't know what it looked like to get to that point, and I didn't know the things that people go through on a
Right.
day-to-day basis, not only as athletes, but as humans. And sometimes the things that happen to us as humans can affect us and can creep into the basketball court or creep into the, playing field. And basically my podcast just takes the opportunity to look at that and to talk about it and to see what we go through as athletes and as human beings, and how it's so much bigger than the little game we play, and it's so much bigger than the sport that all these fans get to come out and watch. And just basically showing and telling the listeners that it's important to prioritize your mental health, because if you don't, it's going to be a long road and it's going to be a tough one. So yeah, it's definitely something different. It's a lot different than mainstream kind of sports media, but I've had an awesome time so far, and I've had some pretty amazing guests that share some pretty cool insight. And there's a lot of really cool stories that come out of it as well. So I'm definitely blessed to have the platform that I do to, portray that message.
Right. It's an extremely unique perspective. And I think if you're listening right now, pause this podcast and go over there and make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube and follow it, because he's doing great work over there. I love it. I enjoy it. And I know you will too. But it also got me thinking, so when it's all said and done on the basketball court, whenever that is, whether it's 2 years from now, 15 years from now, is that route you want to go as sports media broadcast, or are you interested in coaching, or what are you looking towards doing when it's all said and done?
Yeah, sports has consumed my life. I'm a sports person. I watch every game. There isn't a time where sports isn't on the TV. Like if you know me, it's sports. It's I love them all. So definitely, like you said, staying in sports. I never even really considered the broadcasting route until I started the podcast. I've always took pride in my speaking ability and my sports memory. So I think it's something that could be a route. But I know I've always kind of had the interest of, being in a front office or being an NBA executive. That's kind of always been my dream. The little, obviously basketball's my favorite sport, and the little ins and outs of basketball that people don't kind of see in the public eye has really been my interest. So broadcasting, that brings up that opportunity as well. So definitely staying in the sports world. But the more I've done these my podcasts, and the more I've kind of sat down and seen and kind of actually listened to broadcasters and how it works as a whole, as a unit, it excites me. So definitely something that I'm considering, but we'll see how it goes and we'll see where it goes. But I definitely got to give this basketball thing a little bit more shot for sure before we get to
For
that
sure.
point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No doubt.
Today's show is brought to you by friends of the show, LinkedIn Jobs. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire quality candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, experiences to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post, company, and their 875 million member profiles to put you in front of the most qualified candidates. And they make it easier to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications, all in one platform. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one when it comes to delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So head on over to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post about your job for free today. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post about your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. So let's learn a little bit more about Parker, the athlete, and your interests off the court and whatnot as well. So you talked about sports. You talked about it being a huge thing for you. Do you have a favorite team in the NBA? I know you're a Vikings fan, and we're not going to talk about that right now because we're all recovering from that one. But NBA wise, do you have a favorite team?
Yeah, so I'm a Minnesota kid through and through. So I've always been a Timberwolves fan, growing up going to Timberwolves games. So Timberwolves are definitely my team. But the more I've grown in basketball, the more I've loved to. We watch me and Jameson battle. We watch League Pass every single night, and whatever game's on, we'll turn it on. So, I don't want to call myself a Warriors fan because I'm definitely not a Warriors fan. But I love good basketball, and I love watching them play. The stuff that Steve Kerr runs and the kind of offense they run is really fun to watch. But then I'm a LeBron fan till I die. So LeBron's my guy. So I definitely watch a lot of Lakers as well. So those three teams are the teams that are on the TV the most for sure.
I feel that. I feel that. And I am a LeBron fan as well. I feel like we could do a whole podcast on how he still doesn't get enough credit for what he's
Yeah.
done in his career, but we'll save that for another time. Now, I recently got a tattoo back in April of 2022, and now I just want more. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, do you have any tattoos? And if so, do you have a favorite one?
I don't have any tattoos.
Okay.
Definitely I've always thought about for the past couple of months I've thought about getting my double down logo right above my right knee. I haven't
Okay.
gone through with it right yet, but we'll see. We'll see where it takes me.
For sure, for sure. All right, we have to mention your brother who's been popping off at the D3 level as well for UW Stout, averaging 26.4 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, and dropped 70 on Greenville in November. So I'm going to ask you it. I'm not going to ask you to talk up your brother. I'm actually going to ask you something I don't know if you've ever been asked before, which is what is one thing you would take from your brother's game and add it to yours? Plus, what do you think your brother would want to take from your game and add to his?
Wow, that's a great. I've definitely never been asked that before. I often think times when you talk about your siblings, you definitely try to talk them up. So that's a great question. I think I'd take my brother's poise, and this isn't even a skill, but it's kind of how he acts on the floor. He's a very level-headed kid. He doesn't let his emotions bring him too down or too high. And you can see that with the way he's playing this year. He's scoring the ball. I think he's leading the nation scoring, and that's obviously great. But he does a lot of the little things as well, and he's very poised when he does it. And I think in vice versa, I think he would kind of maybe want to add some of my energy. We talk about the poise level and something that I've gotten better at my game. I'm a very emotional player. I play with a lot of high spirit and high energy. And if you see me play, there isn't a play that I don't think I can make, whether it's diving for a ball or trying to get a block or get a dunk or something like that. And Brody's the same way, but he's more of a level-headed guy. So I think he would maybe want to add some of my energy and my enthusiasm for the sport. So I definitely think they're two good deals. But it's just the difference in our personalities kind of brings that out on the court as well.
Right. Love it. Love it. All right. Quick hitting questions for you, and then we'll talk more specifically about the locker room and the Gophers in general.
Yeah.
But favorite food spot in Minnesota?
Oh man, that's tough. Well, what's crazy is it used to be Stella's up in Uptown, and then they recently kind of just shut down with the little rat
Mhm.
problem. So I maybe shouldn't even have mentioned that. But I'll definitely go. I definitely go Billy Sushi though. That's my new spot, and I love sushi, and I've gotten to meet Billy, and he's a great guy. So yeah.
All right. All right. Go to TV show or movie to watch.
Oh man, The Office is always on, and then we watch a lot of South Park as well. So little funny cartoons. But like I said, we watch basketball all the time. So honestly, it's usually just League Pass, to be honest with you.
Right. Right. All right. Netflix, HBO Max, or Hulu?
Oh man, I used to be a Netflix for sure, but now HBO Max, they got too many options.
Too many options. I feel you. All right. Your role model. Who would you say is your role model?
Oh, my dad. Yeah, my dad for sure. Just the way he, um, brought me up, brought me and my brother up, and the way he always put us first before, anything and everything. Definitely a father that I want to be to my kids one day.
Love that. I love that. Absolutely. Quick last two here is favorite pregame meal or postgame meal?
So we do some pretty good meals. I think my favorite pregame meal would be just some basic like chicken and potatoes and rice, just something give easy for games. I don't like to eat too much before games.
I feel
Kind
you.
of, yeah, but just get the right nutrition in. And then post game, I like to eat. So like whatever we got going, we've done Tony's Diner has done some taco bars for us, which has been fire. They have some salmon there that's been fire as well. So man, at that point, I play my heart out. I'm hungry, so whatever we got. But I've been a big salmon guy lately, so let's go salmon.
All right. And then favorite pregame music.
You know what's interesting with the pregame music is we don't really get a whole lot of time with the
Right.
music because we're doing so much scout and the DJ's kind of running it. But I'll go mainstream. I'll just go with some Little Baby and Young Boy. I guess that's kind of what we see in our locker room a lot. Get you hyped up.
It for sure will do that. This show is brought to you by our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source when it comes to sports betting information, stats, news, analysis. They even have sports podcasts over there as well. And taking a look at the numbers for tomorrow's game or today's game. If you're listening to this show, we take on the Illinois Fighting Illini. The Gophers take them on at home at the Barn. That line is currently in favor of the Fighting Illini by 10 points. But if you've been paying attention to Gophers basketball, you've also seen they are trending in the right direction. So if you think the Gophers can get within 10 or even bring home the dub like they upset Ohio State recently, then now is the time to go over there and take that line before it shifts again. You can find all those props, odds, money lines, and more over at BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we're going to wrap this whole thing up with 4 final questions, more tied to basketball and the program and whatnot, and to your teammates. And so the first 2 will be 2 or 3 will be a little bit lighter. And then the last one, I think Gophers fans will really find some curiosity in. But first, I'd say, who is the funniest guy in the locker room?
That's so tough. Last year it was Charlie Daniels. For Gopher fans, I remember Charlie. The kid's hilarious. But I think this year I got to go Josh Ola Joseph. Freshman, just goofy. Just is just a locker room guy that if anything's funny or anybody's laughing, he's definitely always a part of it. So I'll go Josh Ola Joseph on that one.
All right, and then who would you say has the best off the court drip? So if you needed advice for your fashion or whatever, who would you go to on that?
Nobody. Nobody. And they might hate me for this, but nobody. We got some horrible dressers. Jamison Battle's the worst too, so definitely not. I mean, I guess.
So you're saying they should come to you is what
they gotta,
we're really
yeah,
saying.
they gotta come to me for sure. I mean, you see the shoes in the background. I mean, but no, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Dawson Garcia. Maybe I'll give Dawson the slight edge there, but no, our team's got no bad drip.
All right. 2 final questions to close it off, more focused on the basketball side of things. Now, this past game, huge win against Ohio State, which was great to see. We also got a little taste of the coaching because we got the all access game on FS1, which was an awesome experience for fans and media. But from a player's perspective, what is the culture like in the program and in the locker room under Coach Ben Johnson?
Yeah. I think we preach a family atmosphere. We preach a loving, care about each other atmosphere. And I think, Gopher fans that really dive into our program can see that. I think the All Access did a good job of showcasing how much Coach Johnson cares about, us, obviously on the court, but off the court as well. He wants us to be winners in life, not just winners on the court. So we definitely preach that in our locker room. And I think at the end of the day, culture starts from the players. A coach can bring anything in and they can preach whatever they want to preach. But if the players aren't coming together as one unit and reaching, and striving to reach that, kind of culture and that goal, it won't happen. So, and that starts with recruiting too. And Coach Johnson recruited not only great basketball players, but class act guys with great characters. So we definitely preach that, family atmosphere. And obviously you can see coach doesn't his mouth doesn't stop when we're on the court because he's really wants us to get in the right positions and get us to the right spots and he cares about us a lot, and that's definitely on and off the court.
All right, last one. And I think I have one written down of what I want to do for the last one, but I want to ask something completely different after you kind of talked about that and listening to him constantly talking and letting you know where he wants you to be on the floor and whatnot. I know, and I had talked to Coach Ben Johnson about this as we head into the season, but the fact that there's so many athletes that can flex between the 1 through 4 or even 1 through 5 positions that you guys are learning the roles and who does what in those certain positions on the floor constantly. And some know certain positions better than others. But what do you think that adds to this Gophers team, being able to have so much fluidity on the court and athletes that can play between so many different positions?
Yeah, no, fluidity is a great word to describe it. We also use versatility a lot. Guys that can do different things. You talk about a kid like Dawson Garcia who can stretch the floor, who can also finish inside. A kid like Jamison Battle who can make, pull up jumpers, but also is dead eye from 3. Just little things like that. I think you don't want single level talent. You want multi-layered, multi-level talent, and that helps out with the kind of offense we're putting in. We run a little bit more difficult offense, which can be tough for freshmen, coming in and trying to learn. And we're slowly bridging that gap, and we're slowly, making that a thing where we're understanding. And we got guys that can play multiple positions. Even a kid like, Pharrell, who's obviously, got back to the basket post, but we got him up top catching the ball, off of the high post, making plays up there, So we definitely want to be a versatile team. And that makes it easier with scouting too. If you're a single level team, you're easy to scout, and you're predictable. When you do a lot of things and your offense is moving, it makes it harder to scout. And we're slowly inching along, and we're getting better at it. And it's fun to watch, and it's fun to see develop in front of my eyes, and I know in front of fans' eyes as well.
Absolutely. And you can see the progress happening at game to game, especially as we've hit this new year. But I want to thank you so much, Parker, for taking the time to come on the show. And if you're listening to the podcast, definitely be sure to check out Parker's podcast, the Double Down Podcast. But thanks again for coming, and I appreciate it big time. That is going to do it for us here on Locked On Golden Gophers. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.